Welcome to Verbal Peak Radio. We give you a verbal image of life, and we are every day. People like to welcome you all to the show. We're going to get into the Upanishad, or the Upanishad. Upanishad. Upanishad is coming off the Veda. But I'm specifically getting into this because I want to get you all familiar with the ethers. The ethers is the nothingness which things were created, or all things were created from that nothingness. And from that nothingness, it began to come into shapes. This is taught, this is Indo-Aryan teachings of the Veda. If you see the word Aryan, that comes from India, but you also saw Hitler adapt that theology, and that swastika is actually the Hindu cross, right? Let me read this. This Upanishad derives its title from the opening words Isa Vasya, which is Vasya. Isa was the name of Arabic meaning for Jesus. They got God covered. The use of Isa, Lord, a more personal name of the Supreme Being than Brahman. Atman, or self, the names usually found in the Upanishads, constitutes one of its peculiarities. It forms the closing chapter of the Yajur Veda, known as Shukla, white, right? So when they was interpreting this is in the term, the Shukla was known as white, and then the Aryan cross, when Hitler was trying to find the origin of the white man, he adopted that, and he, in my opinion, misinterpreted to mean that the beginning of God was white, right? And we'll finish that. We'll get back to that. But that is the oneness of the soul and God, and the value of both faith and works as means of ultimate attainment are the leading themes of this Upanishad. The general teaching of the Upanishads is that works alone, even the highest, can bring only temporary happiness, and must inevitably bind a man unless through them he gains knowledge of his real self. To help him acquire this knowledge is the aim of this and all Upanishads, right? So it's basically saying the higher knowledge works is okay, but the knowledge of self, meaning the knowledge of the elements, the knowledge of this universe, everything that's pertaining to you within this universe, you have to have knowledge of self, because it all encompasses you as an individual, right? Peace chant. I know you heard that before. That the invisible absolute is whole. Whole is this visible phenomenon. From the invisible whole comes forth the visible whole. Though the visible whole has come out from the invisible whole, yet the whole remains unaltered. Om peace. The indefinite term that is used in the Upanishads to designate the invisible absolute, because no word or name can fully define it. A finite object like a table or a tree can be defined, but God, who is infinite and unbounded, cannot be expressed by finite language. Therefore, the Rishis, and that's Rishis, or divine seers, not to limit the unlimited Choose the indefinite term, that, to designate the absolute. In the light of true wisdom, the phenomenal and the absolute are inseparable. All existence is in the absolute, and whatever exists must exist in it. Hence, in all manifestation is merely a modification of the one supreme whole, and neither increase nor diminishes it. The whole, therefore, remains unaltered. All this whatsoever exists in the universal should be covered by the Lord, having renounced the unreal. Enjoy the real. Do not covet the wealth of any man. You know, these are ancient teachings, and even these teachings goes back even further than that. In the beginning was the word. It's just that word in knowledge has been translated from different tongues, and it went to different parts of the planet, and it was expressed and told in various languages depending on where you were at geographically on this planet, right? We cover all things with the Lord by perceiving the divine presence everywhere. When the consciousness is firmly fixed in God, the conception of diversity naturally drops away, because the one cosmic existence shines through all things. As we gain the light of wisdom, we cease to cling to the unrealities of this world, and we find all our joy in the realm of reality. The word enjoy is also interpreted by the great commentator Sankaracharya, Sankaracharya, as protect, because knowledge of our true self is the greatest protector and sustainer. If we do not have this knowledge, we cannot be happy, because nothing on this external plane of phenomena is permanent or dependable. He who is rich in the knowledge of the self does not covet external power or possessions. The knowledge. You hear in the Nation of Islam, it says do for self. Knowledge of self is the key. See, when you have knowledge of who you are, you're not worried and panicking and what you see going on television, and people thinking Trump is bringing police forces to different cities, and it's going to be chaotic and so and so, because when you have knowledge of who you are, it's just certain things that you're not going to do, certain things that you want to do, because you know the consequences of certain actions, right? You studied yourself, and that's one of the best studies you can have, is the study of you. If one should desire to live in this world 100 years, one should live performing karma, righteous deeds. Thus thou mayest live. There is no other way. By doing this karma, the fruits of thy actions will not defile thee. So you do good deeds so you can get good deeds back. And the adverse, you do bad deeds, you get bad deeds in return. Now, if you don't know the difference between right and wrong, or what good deeds or what bad deeds are, then that's a whole nother topic within itself, because we were created with an inclination, as Mr. Farrakhan states, with an inclination towards the Creator. You was created out of truth, so you're supposed to do truthful things naturally. But it's that lower nature, that lower desire, that the man of perdition, or the sin that walks in flesh man, that shows you an example of sin and fakes you out. So you believe that what he's doing is just so inspiring. It's just on and popping. This is it. I got to have it. I mean, look how good Satan makes it look. And at the end, you wind up with nothing. It's all a game. After leaving their bodies, they who have killed the self go to the worlds of the Asuras, Asuras, covered with blinding ignorance. The ideal of rising to bright regions as a reward for well-doers and falling into realms of darkness as a punishment for evildoers is common to all great religions. But Vedanta, Vedanta, claims that this condition of heaven and hell is only temporary because our actions, being finite, can produce only a finite result. What does it mean to kill the self? How can the immortal soul ever be destroyed? It cannot be destroyed. It can only be obscured. Those who hold themselves under the weight of ignorance, who serve the flesh and neglect the Atman, Atman, or the real self, are not able to perceive the effulgent and indestructible nature of their souls. Hence they fall into the realm where the soul light does not shine. Here the Upanishad shows that the only hell is absence of knowledge. As long as man is overpowered by the darkness of ignorance, he is the slave of nature and must accept whatever comes as the fruit of his thoughts and deeds. When he strays into the path of unreality, the sages declare that he destroys himself, because he who clings to the perishable body and regards it as his true self must experience death many times. That one, though motionless, is swifter than the mind. The sense can never overtake it, for it ever goes before. Though immovable, it travels faster than those who run. By it, the all-pervading air sustains all living beings. This verse explains the character of the Atman, or self. A finite object can be taken from one place and put in another, but it can only occupy one space at a time. The Atman, however, is present everywhere. Hence, though one may run with the greatest swiftness to overtake it, already it is there before him. Even the all-pervading air must be supported by this self, since it is infinite. And as nothing can live without breathing air, all living things must draw their life from the cosmic self. It moves and it moves not. It is far and also it is near. It is within and also it is without. All of this, i.e. ethers. It is near to those who have the power to understand it, for it dwells in the heart of everyone. But it is far to those whose mind is covered by the clouds of sensationality and self-delusion. It is within because it is in the innermost soul of all creatures, and it is without as the essence of the whole external universe, and feeling it like the all-pervading ether. We were just talking about ethers. Ethers. We gonna bring it to you. Everyday people, the movie. He who sees all beings in the self and the self in all beings, he never turns away from it, the self. He who perceives all beings as the self, for him how can there be delusions or grief when he sees this oneness everywhere? He who perceives the self everywhere never shrinks from anything, because through his higher consciousness, he feels united with all life. When a man sees God in all beings and all beings in God, and also God dwelling in his own soul, how can he hate any living thing? Grief and delusion rest upon a belief in diversity, which leads to competition and all forms of selfishness. With the realization of oneness, the sense of diversity vanishes and the cause of misery is removed. See, this is dealing with race. When a man sees God in nature, he sees God within himself, he sees God within fellow human beings, but yet one person created a system of hate against another individual solely based upon the color of skin and deems to attack that, then what's happening is that sets off a message that, or a message to the universe that something off balance, and it's the universe's job to bring it back in balance. And so the universe is so merciful that it say, you know what, I will give you all a messenger and a warning in flesh to help you along your way, only if you listen. We'll get to part 2 in a minute. Verbal Pick Radio. I enjoyed it. We're not through. And like I said, we'll do part 2 in the near future. We're out.